Good evening, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat. And your hostess with the mostest, P. Koffe Brown, and our panelists are all in the building. So as they are connected to everyone on social media and sharing on their platforms, we're going to begin started in just a few seconds. Give us our panelists just a moment to be able to spread the wealth on their platforms to let their communities know that we are live. And we're getting ready to get the party started. We're live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter Spaces. We're all over the place. We are in the building and super excited to be in with you guys on tonight. So welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat for our Tuesday wrap session. Tonight, it's getting ready to be very interesting. We're going to have a very intriguing topic. Are we raising our daughters while coddling our sons? This is an interesting topic. If you're sensitive, I want you to hold on to yourself. I want you to just squeeze yourself real tight, because it's getting ready to get interesting. It's getting ready to get politically interesting on tonight as we have this dialogue and discussion. And so I just want to let everybody know, if you're sensitive, I just want you to hold on to your seatbelt, and you're going to be all right tonight. We're going to all make it through this together. We're going to make it through it together. But we need to have this conversation. We need to have this conversation. It is one that needs to be had, and we're going to have it on tonight. So come on in the room, come on in the building, holla at your people, let your friends, neighbors, and relatives know that we are live all over social media. And again, as our guests are coming in, they're going to be sharing the wealth on their platforms and connecting with you guys on tonight. As we're all doing that, I'm going to go ahead and do some introductions so you can meet these amazing panelists on tonight. And we're going to start with the troublemaker that's in the building this evening, the rebel in his own right, Toxic Bay himself, Taylor Made Speaks. Taylor, introduce yourself to these people.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Taylor Made Speaks. Look, I am a toxic relationship coach. Let me say that one more time, because I know some of y'all have been in some serious toxic relationship. I help men and women exit out of toxic relationship within 30 days or less. Now, how can I guarantee that? Because I haven't failed yet. Until I fail, I will continue saying that. So look, I am so happy to be here on this platform, and I'm ready to jump into this conversation.
Toxic Bay is in the building, y'all. Listen. It's getting ready to get crazy in here in just a few minutes. Lady Victoria has stepped away for a second. We got Jason Williams in the building. Dr. Adrian Carter in the building. Snap, clap. Dr. Adrian is there a doctor in the house? Dr. Adrian, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let these people know who you are, and welcome in tonight's session.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Jay, how you doing, sir? Mr. Troublemaker. Koffe, it is amazing to see you as well. Thank you for having me on your platform. For those who meeting me for the first time, I'm Dr. Adrian Carter. I am America's #1 executive and conflict resolution and relationship building coach. I enjoy helping people solve the problem of people. That goes for relationships and relationships, whether romantic or in the professional space. So thank you for having me on. I look forward to the topic.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being present with us, Dr. Adrian. Congratulations on all that you're doing. Brand new publication just recently released. So excited about your new journey and all that's manifesting with you. So welcome in, and thanks for being here. Jason Thibodeau was in the building. Jason, introduce yourself. Let these folks know who you are.
Well, greetings. How you doing? Jason Thibodeau, J-Tib, your favorite actor. What can I say? More or less your conflict unresolution specialist. Because basically, if there's things that need to be said, while I don't necessarily like conflict, I don't necessarily run from it either if there's something that needs to be said. So you will hear it. Hope you have thick skin if you are sensitive, but I mean, there might be a couple trigger warnings going on this show, but we're gonna get to a solution.
Yeah, we're gonna get that's gonna be because Toxic Bay and Toxic Anti-Bay is in the building. Jason Williams, welcome in tonight. Jason Williams, what up?
What's going on, good people? I'm Jason Williams. Just a simple old kind of fella doing what I do between business, church, and music. That's what I do for a living. So that's who I am.
Call him the voice. Did you not hear it? He is the voice. Period.
Thank you, Koffe.
Listen here, Lady V, what's up? You muted, Lady V.
Okay, there I am. Now I'm live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Lady Victoria here. You all have to bear with me a little bit this evening as I've been dealing with some virus or something, and my voice is compromised a little bit this evening, but I am here to support Koffe and everyone on this panel. Most of you may know me as the Etiquette Lady, Victoria School of Etiquette, but also as a life coach and mentor for young girls and women. I deal with women that are dealing with trauma, especially those that are dealing with low self-esteem and trying to navigate through those waters to come out of it, learning how to access the information that is already within them to identify who they are and the power that they have. So that is my contribution. Thank you.
Awesome. So she's gonna be our referee tonight because we're getting ready to get into this. We about to get into it. It might get a little bit ugly. I'm not sensitive, but I don't know if my might get sensitive because I wanted to have, this is the reason why the panel is mismatched intentionally. Our perception of how we raise our sons, it's totally different from a man's perception. So I wanted to respectfully get the men to hone in on this controversial yet necessary topic. Are we raising our daughters while coddling our sons? When we think about this topic, there is a double standard in place when it comes to male and females being reared. Not in my house. We worked in a non-bias because I hated that growing up. So to the best of my ability, and I say the best because, again, it's still male and female. So there's still a little bit of bias in there. But to the best of my God-given ability, we try to eliminate the bias and kind of keep the playing field the same. There's a couple little differences because a guy is a guy. So a girl can't necessarily always do what a guy does. And you really don't want her to be quite frank with you, especially in the rearing facets of life. As you're grooming her to become a young woman, you really kind of don't want her doing exactly what the boy does. You just really don't. At the same time, there's been stated, and I know y'all have heard this, about us coddling or not raising our sons, not teaching them the fundamental things that we teach our daughters, like cooking, like cleaning up after themselves, like making certain, of certain things that we do automatically for a girl where we're not doing it for our sons, or if something were to happen with him, we're defending something that necessarily should not be defended, and so on and so forth. It's a whole lot into it when you think about the concept of coddling or pacifying certain behaviors that need to be addressed when it comes to our son, but addressing them with our daughters and making certain that they're doing this and, oh, well, she can get pregnant, but he can't. So he can do this, but you can't. And so on and so forth. Just different behavioral things that we find people have been doing. So let's talk about it. Let's dive right into this. So we want to start with Dr. Adrian from the social perspective. Are we raising our daughters and then turning around and coddling our sons?
I think it's definitely a worthy conversation, right? Because we are constantly uncovering the impact of gender roles. And that's really what goes down to the heart of the question, right? Is this idealism in our social construct that we've set up for males, for men, for boys, versus what we've done for females, for girls, and our daughters. I think the question also really cuts across different cultures, because if you go into a Caribbean household, right, you can find some standards, especially um, what it looks like for Jamaicans versus what it looks like for Haitians or Trinidadians versus Black Americans versus Southern versus Northern. So while I think there is merit to it, right, I think it really becomes a very cultural. Me personally, in my house, um, I preach a very different mantra, and you know that, in terms of what leadership looks like, in terms of what male and female dynamics looks like. But in a lot of cultures, you do have the sentiment that very clearly says that boys are treated very different from girls, and girls are ultimately almost like the maids of the house in some instances, right? They have an expectation, and then those boys grow into manhood, never really achieving manhood and their level of self-sufficiency the way that they can. So there is that particular track. So it absolutely does happen. I think a lot of it, though, is based on culture. So I'm interested to see what everybody else has to say, as I continue to develop my thought around it, because culturally, I think it's going to make a big difference when we dig down into it.
Taylor, I want to hear from you.
Uh, um, I think that Dr. Adrian had some very excellent points. I'm from a Caribbean background. My family's Jamaican, and I think that surprisingly, um, I didn't have to lift a finger in the house. Um, I didn't have to cook. I can stay out late. Um, I got a lot of freedom. And my sister, on the other hand, it was a lot different, right? She stayed a lot of times in the house. And now that I am older, um, cooking is just a thing that I don't touch at all. I choose not to. I don't want to. And so anybody that I deal with understands that up front. Could that be something that my parents instilled in me and taught me growing up? Yeah. Um, but that didn't happen. Although I went into the military and a lot of things have changed with me, right? With, ironing, washing, cleaning, and all that good stuff. But I think that a lot also have to do with society of a whole, where men are looked as the leader also in the military, right? We just now kind of allowing women to go to war too. So I think not only the household, not only, like Dr. Adrian say, culture, I think that society puts or formulates this impression that with the guys, you don't have to worry too much because they're a guy, they're a man, they'll be okay. Even our family, they'll be okay. But the women, we gotta put a leash kind of on her and keep her, straight and in the thing. But there's so many nuance, and I don't want to go into that. I'll say something later. But there's some nuance that I want to touch on, Coffee, with the women today. But I'll touch on it after.
Oh, your facial expression, honey. You got excited when you said nuances. My goodness.
Oh, yeah.
As we dive into the conversation, everyone, go ahead, like, share, and comment. Go ahead, and our panelists, if you guys wouldn't mind spreading the wealth on your platforms to your community so they can hop in on this conversation before it gets really juicy. Because I think it's about to get a little ugly. I think it's going to get a little bit ugly. Taylor then said something about women of the day and all that kind of stuff. And I feel some type of way already. But we get ready to dive in, tap into this a little bit more aggressively. So we're gonna go over to Jason Thibodeau. Jason, as a girl dad, Jason has two daughters. And Jason, as your friend, as your friend and one of your business partners, I've been knowing you for a long, long time.
That you have.
And your ring of your daughters is different. It's different. It's they gonna be very, 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 very well rounded. if you will. If you will.
Well, that's what we're working on. Definitely. Yeah.
And that's a good thing. It's different. It's different.
Mhm.
I have seen fathers for a long time, but I've never seen fathers rearing their daughters like you rear yours. Your daughters know how to fix cars. They know how to deal with wildlife. Never seen that. Very rarely. I done seen the baby with a snake and what she had that one time, Jason?
Yeah, she was holding a rat snake that was a little bit longer than she is tall. So yeah.
Yeah, she had a rat snake. Then another time she had some kind of wild thing out from, and the baby has no fear. I mean, I'm just looking like.
Well, she'll pick up a snake, but she don't do spiders.
That part.
So she'll pick up a 4-foot snake. I mean, it was not alive. I mean, I had already eliminated it, but yes, she picked up the snake. Absolutely.
So Jason, are we raising our daughters and calling our sons? Are we making our sons as well-rounded as our daughters?
Let me pretense this first. Quick background. For years, I come from a divorced household. My parents got divorced when I was in the 1st grade. Mostly raised by my mom, who both my parents are country. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They are definitely country by way of Louisiana, even though they, born and raised here in Texas. But so their mindset on how to handle things is a little different anyway. You know what I mean? They're very strict. They'll say something once, maybe twice. If they say it a third time, there's definitely going to be some action from either one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Even though my parents got divorced and I was mostly raised by my mom, my father was always close. And if he even heard that I said something out of term, we was going to have a problem. You know what I mean? So I raised my daughters with that same strictness. So when I speak to teenagers, kids, sometimes adults, I speak with a certain tone. Sometimes it's not always the most pleasant, but I speak with a tone because I expect results no matter what. So if I ask you to go do something, I actually expect for it to be done. Now, of course, I'm not talking adults so much, but when I talk to kids, I talk with the intent that they're going to do what I ask them to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also going into that background, for about 8 to 10 years, local church, I was working with their Boys' Rites of Passage program where we mentored high school boys, roughly high school age, right? Mm-hmm. All, 14 to 18. It's a 2-year program. And, you're to finish it, you have to complete both years. And, we talk about everything from computers to how to tie a tie, work on cars, whatever. We talk about a whole bunch of stuff, African diaspora, etc. And working with that program is the reason why you and I used to talk about this topic at times, because a lot of the young men came from a single parent household, mostly their mom, right? But few of them did grow up with their dads. And we started noticing during the intake process that as the mother's bringing in this son and saying, hey, I would like for him to join this program, I think that it'd be good to be around a bunch of men. I may not have as many men in his life and everything else. The mentors are sitting back. And now we're looking at the daughters that are walking in with the mothers and how they carry themselves, right? So we're looking at this. And that's when we started noticing and talking amongst ourselves. And it's like, oh my God, it's just like, this young man can be in a circle with his peers and other grown men. So you got high school boys from all different schools in Houston, and you got grown men. And we'll just ask, say your name, your age, and what school you're from. I know you can kind of see my shirt. So say you got a name tag right here. Mm-hmm. How y'all doing? My name is Jason. I'm 15. I go to, and you was talking about the way I raise my daughters. Every now and again, as we're facilitating these classes, my daughters would come with me, and they would see these young men. Now, granted, my daughters were younger. So at the time, my oldest one, who's a senior now, was probably 10, 11, 12. And one of the first things she looked at me and said was, I wouldn't even take none of y'all serious because you don't even know your own damn name. You got to look at your shirt to even say your name. So we started noticing that these young men did not have a very strong posture, right? There was a lot of understanding that they did not have in terms of manhood, trying to take care of your mom, making sure that she's all right. You know, I understand that's your mom, but you shouldn't just have to sit around and just get catered to all the time, because at some point you're going to have to leave that nest and be able to take care of yourself. And what we started noticing, especially as, you know, like I said, I've been with this program for damn near a decade. What we started noticing is the daughters are going off to college and the sons are staying at the house. You know, which leads me to believe that some of these boys might be 30 years old, still writing their name on the orange juice and stuff, telling my mom, don't touch my orange juice and stuff, while the daughter's off getting an education. And we started noticing, even when they came to discipline with these young men and women, like when you would see the brother and sister together, the mom would straighten out the daughter real quick. And even if she did straighten out the son, she would darn near emasculate him. You know what I mean? Treat him like a little kid, where the daughter was treated almost as a peer. So yes, I saw this with my own eyes. And that's the reason why we used to have some of these in-depth conversations. And that's also the reason why I raised my daughters the way that they raise them. It's bad when I have buddies of mine over the years that have come to me and said, man, you ruining your daughters for these other little boys. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? They's like, ain't none of these young men going to ever be good enough for them. And I was like, and your point is what? Raise your son. Stop trying to make him be cute, fly, and everything else. Raise him with some type of moral, some type of posture to where he can actually function in this world. And I'll rest my mic there, because like I said, we'll come back around and I'm guarantee you it'll probably get a little more heated, but that's just some of the things that I noticed just on a high level.
Jason Williams, go ahead, Dr. Adrian.
Yeah, I do want to say though.
I saw your wheels spinning.
Yeah. I do want to say though that I don't know, right? Because and I know part of this is gonna come from our personal anecdotal experiences. But you see, I was born in Jamaica, but I grew up with my stepmother, who I call mom just as much as I call my biological mom. And she's Bahamian, so I have a strong Bahamian background as well. And so I have a Jamaican dad and a Bahamian mother, and then even on my Jamaican side of family, like there's an expectation. I know how to sew, cook, mop, dust, paint, iron, make a bed, change the light. Like there's not much I can't do. And that's because my parents were very clear from a very young age, like we do everything.
Absolutely.
My uncles are the same way. The most hospitable person I know is my uncle. You cannot beat him being hospitable. You come to his home, you sit down, he's going to serve you, they're going to cook, he's going to make sure everything is set, don't you touch anything. He feels funny about it. So I don't, that's why I say, I think a big part of this is cultural, because
and I would agree.
That's why I say a big part of it is cultural, because you do have another side to the story. There is this side to the story that a young man ultimately grows up to provide and protect.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to put that into the picture, that doesn't happen inside the home, right? So why does there need to be a focus of him in the home with these domestic duties? We may refer to it as coddling, but there's an expectation that when somebody busts through that door, that he's supposed to put his life on the line, not her. So,
okay,
look at the trade-offs of when we begin to genderify this, what's really at play. Maybe it is okay I don't cook, sleep, and mop, because I know I'm supposed to be the one to go out there and bring home the bacon, even though the truth is that's not how that actually works either.
Correct.
I agree. Now, I want to address that, because yes, you brought up a very good point, and I do not disagree with you by any means. So when I'm saying these comments and I'm talking about these young men being coddled, and I had to catch myself because I almost cursed. A lot of these young men don't know how to do crap. There we go. Didn't curse that time. So do I agree with you? Yes. I cook. I can't really sew well, but I mean, cook, iron, all of that other stuff. 10 toes down, I agree with you. A lot of these young men that I'm referring to don't even know what a screwdriver is. Can't tell one screwdriver from the other one. I mean, everything to them is about looking good in women and trying to play sports. And some of them ain't even good at that. You know what I mean? I mean, it got to the point to where while we're not in the sanctuary, it was a young man that a few years older than me that I grew up with, and he remembered me from when I was like 5 years old. And it kind of scared me because he came up to me and said my whole name, middle name, and everything. And I ain't seen this dude in like 20 years at that point. And we sat back and we were just chopping it up, talking to each other. And we were listening to these young men talk to each other. And I hate to say it, they were gossiping worse than like women did back in the 90s about who this young lady was messing with. And, oh, man, yeah, she went to his. She slept with my homeboy. And this, that. And me and this dude was sitting back like, whoa. And he literally walked up to him at church, in this church building, and told him that they sounded like a bunch of B words. To which I busted out laughing. And I told him, I was like, look, man, we don't talk like that. Yes, you may say, okay, yeah, man, you know, a couple of the homies ran through it. Yeah, she, you know, been around and everything else. But talking in detail and some of this other stuff, you know what I mean? It's like you said, it's cultural. There's definitely a cultural difference. I've been to Trinidad. I've been to some of the islands. And I noticed that the posture of these young men are definitely different than what I've actually witnessed here in America. You know, especially coming from single family homes. I mean, single mother homes, huh?
Taylor brought up something earlier that was interesting when Adrian talked about having the same kind of background. Because Taylor, you did mention that you have a Jamaican background as well, right?
Yeah.
But Adrian, you talked about how the requirement was, Dr. Adrian, forgive me, the requirement of you learning how to do all, you know, the sewing and things like that. Taylor had a very different experience because he said he wasn't required to do any of that.
I was.
I don't know if it's necessarily totally cultural as it is that particular household.
It definitely
how
was.
They identify things in a particular household. And you know what's interesting, just to piggyback before we head to Lady Victoria and Jason Williams, I'm in education in the high school level. And the scary part, when we talk about if it's the case where a young man is being prepared and groomed to be a protector and a provider, if that being the case, then there is no protection at all. I watch them. I can see a girl literally in a threat of harm situation, not by another human being, but say an inanimate object, maybe getting ready to fall. They don't even flinch. They don't even offer aid. It's like even every single day, like clockwork, this is no joke. I ask my male students every day, like clockwork, gentlemen, take the chairs down, please, when you come into the classroom. Y'all in 11th and 12th grade, why am I asking every day?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the young ladies, they automatically come in and start, you know, navigating through the classroom to make sure things are where they need to be or whatever. But the males, I don't know what they're being prepared for, to be quite frank with you. And it's not a gender. It's not, I mean, it's not a gender. I didn't mean to say a gender. It's not a specific hue. It's all the nationalities. It's not saying brown boys or Asian boys or Caucasian, all of them. I literally will walk in the building, y'all. I'll have a briefcase, coffee cup, maybe something else in my hand. They won't even flinch to open the door. Doesn't matter what hue it is. But the girls, they'll run and say, Miss Brown, I got it. What? And I asked one of the boys one time, I asked them, I try to have a real candid from time to time, I kind of ask, hey, why y'all, when y'all see the girls coming in, y'all don't hold the door open? Oh, Miss won't have to hold no door open. Nobody has to do that. I said, your dad, nobody at your house opens the door for? Oh, no. My dad opened the door for my mom. Nah, mm-mm. And I'm just like, what? But these girls are so more well-rounded. They're so more defined. They're so more intentional. And the young men just like, they just got their legs crossed and, oh, okay.
They're more well-rounded and defined according to whom?
According to the moral compass standards. We're talking about
Developed by whom?
moral compass standards.
Mm-hmm.
Moral compass standards, regular morals, regular morals.
They didn't fall out the sky.
Kindness, consideration, regular morals. I'm talking about just human compass morals. Like in my classrooms, I give you an example. In my classrooms, we go through every day. I'm asking the boys not to use profanity. I don't have to ask the girls that. That's regular, just common courtesy, appropriate behavior, appropriate place, appropriate time, just regular ethics, etiquette, just regular etiquette, traditional home training.
Yes. Because I was going to say,
you got sons. Adrian, you got sons. I know you teach your sons to open the door for females.
I do teach them to be courteous and kind and generous, right?
Right.
But what we've done though in society, and I'm putting this out there.
Okay.
Folks mad. It's all right though. Okay.
Make them mad. Say what you gotta say. Ain't nobody scared.
Do women want equality or do they want to be more than equal? Because when we begin to associate specific tasks with what it means to be kind, right? And we use opening doors. I think we end up trying to develop some kind of even swap, but why do the guys have to open the doors for the girls?
Like, let me jump in. I'm sorry, Dr. Adrian. Let me jump in right there with backing Koffe up on the moral standard. That's what I do all the time because I'm an etiquette instructor. So I teach people, young, middle age, older. I teach them about how to frame their own personal moral compass. Not everyone has it. Well, everyone has one, but not everyone adheres to the one that has been generally set up by society. And you say, so who sets it up? It's determined by whom? It's determined by society at large that we should be kind to people, that we should be considerate to people, that when people are in our space, we want to make them feel comfortable. And so that's part of that moral compass that we as human beings should actually activate in our lives every day. But you can't do what you haven't been taught. Some things are caught more than they are taught. And you may catch it later in life, but prior to you catching it, if you weren't taught it, you can't exercise what you don't know to do. Unless you are a person that decides on your own that you are going to be observant of others around you and see how other people carry themselves in certain situations and how they behave in mannerable ways all of the time. If you haven't been taught that, you won't know to do that. And so unless you choose to absorb that later in life, you're just going to be walking around, excuse the phrase, but you're just going to be walking around being like a hellion all day long. I tell people all the time that the manners that you practice in private, those are the ones that are going to show up in public. Why? Because it has become habitual. It's become so ingrained in you until you don't give a considerate thought about how you might behave or what you might say or how you are dressed, how you are attired, how you're greeting and how you're engaging those that are around you. So for men or women that haven't done that, it's difficult to do that. And for addressing the young men that don't know their name because they're looking on their name tag and they don't know to take the chairs down. They don't realize that they're being asked to do something every day. It hasn't sunk in. They haven't been taught it. So I don't know if these parents are coddling their sons. They're not teaching them to behave in respectable, responsible behaviors in a public setting. So obviously something is lacking in the home front. And it may not just be cultural. I agree with both of you on that. It may not just be cultural, but it may be the culture of that family. It may be the culture of whomever is parenting them.
And you know what? It's another concept too. And I love what Dr. Adrian said, and we're gonna head over to Jason Williams so he can hop in. I love what you said about that. And one thing came to mind when Dr. Adrian was talking about who said that a guy should open doors and things like that. You know what's interesting about that? My son and I, we were driving not recently, and I said, "Hey, Miles, check out on the feeder. Who do you see most on the feeder doing construction?" He said, "Dudes." I said, "Hey, you know, every time we go to the body shop, who do we see most often in the body shop?" Dudes. I say, you know, when somebody comes and they do pest control at the house, who do we see most often with pest control? Dudes. Well, you know, every time we call to get somebody to come fix the roof, who do we see most often coming to fix the roof? Dudes. And I said to my son, I said, it's interesting. We may say we want equality, but our bodies aren't equipped the same way.
True.
We're not even physically designed to be equal. That is not possible. We hear this all the time, but the truth of the matter is, like when I had car trouble, I didn't call a woman, "Hey girl, can you come look at my truck?" No, sir. I've never called a woman to come fix my truck. I've never called a woman to come fix my roof. I did not call a woman when there was a bird that built a nest inside of the ventilation system in my house. I've never called a woman to do any of that. I don't even ask for a woman. In the little neighborhood post, Dr. Adrian, where it says, when we put it in the little neighborhood post, "Hey, y'all know a guy that can detail my truck?" I've never asked a girl to come and detail my truck, and so on and so forth. We're not equal. We may say that's what we want, but the truth of the matter is it's not reality and it's not possible. Our human anatomy, physical anatomy of a human being, we're not created equal. A woman, we can get all the training that we want, but natural human anatomy, physiology, we can't even defend ourselves against a man. We can't. We're not created the same. The strength of a woman is low. The strength of a man is right up top. A man gonna get us every time, every single time. It's a rarity that we'll be able to win a fight with a guy. Rarity. Just by human anatomy, physiology. So we may say we want equality, but it's kind of not reality. Just not true. I'm just saying, from my perspective. But Jason Williams, come on, Jason.
So, Koffe, you don't want to come over here and get these possums?
No, sir. The devil's a hot
rabbits
lie
and
from
stuff in
hell.
the yard?
The devil is a hot lie from hell. I ain't doing it. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I don't want to get no possums. I don't want to get no raccoons. I'm not trying to be outside doing no snakes. And
None of that.
Look, Yasmin thought it was a snake outside the other day. Me and her peeping out the window and calling, hey, Steve, can you come by
But at least
here?
the rabbits are cute.
Look, Steve, can you come by here? Jasmine said it's a snake outside. Can you come through real quick, sir? Yeah, thank you, sir. We ain't call no woman to say, "Come look at this snake." That's not what we called. We called a man.
That's true.
It's a fact.
It is fact. It is definitely fact that men and women are different. Now, to go back to your original question, I don't know if it's coddling or it's just the lack of understanding. In my household, my mom, I only had brothers. It was just me and my two brothers. So we had no females in the house except for my mother. And she was treated like a queen because there was nothing she had to do. And when it came to fixing anything. And then when we became of age, she made sure we knew everything else. We washed dishes, we cooked, we washed our own clothes, we did the yard work. Even to this very day, there's nothing in the household I can't do by myself. Now, when it came to my sons or my daughters, I taught them the same thing, all of them. It wasn't a question of, well, you're a guy, you don't have to do this. If I got to do it, you got to do it. I don't care who you are. Now, culturally, I think it's a lack of just understanding and the need to genderfy, I guess, if that's a word, everything. We put everything in categories so much so that relationships are ruined for it. Because women feel like, well, you the man, you're supposed to be doing this. Dudes feel like, well, you the woman, you're supposed to be doing that. And we all know that's reality. We do whatever our strengths are. Mm-hmm. But if you have no strength, then what do you do? We have so many, and I think someone said this in the comments, we have so many children raising children. And I think that has a lot to do with where some of these kids are today, is because they were raised by a child. Mm-hmm. And they had no real direction as a child to raise a child. So all they did was, hey, what you want to do? I think a lot of these kids today are misinformed and cheated, even through the school system. When I was growing up, when we played sports, you either won or you lost. Now everybody gets an award just for participation.
My God.
So if that's the case, then
that's
if everybody gets an award, but I'm just saying, right.
Message.
That's coddling for real.
Right.
Seriously.
That's coddling to the highest point.
Very
to
true.
The point where when hard times come, people don't know what to do. I've always been awarded even when I lost. I'm still good, not in the real world, because go try to get a job that don't have any type of skill that's marketable. You'll find out quick that you're not gonna get a participation award for it, or you're not a participation check. Let me just say it like that. You won't get a participation check. Either you're gonna produce, or they're gonna put you out on the street somewhere and say, "Hey, we'll find somebody else. We're going," the nice way. We're going in a different direction.
Mm.
That's true.
But the reality is, if we don't get ourselves and teach our children, and even if you see children teaching children the wrong way or just letting them do whatever, we still got to step in. Those that know. The problem is there's some parents out there that just don't know. They don't see it because they don't know.
That's true.
Now, if you don't mind, I like to piggyback off of what he was saying, and my man Terrence here, going hard in the comments. Well, I wish it was. I wish it was showing up on my Facebook feed, but it's showing up screen, but I'm seeing it on here. I wanted to bring up a couple things. Okay, because my wife's best friend, that was one of the things that I had to have a conversation with her about after her and her husband ended up splitting as well, and it is a serious pet peeve of mine. When she looked at her son that was probably 5-6 years old at the time and said, "You're the man of the house." No, the hell that young man is not. You got to understand that you start setting a precedence to where this young man starts to feel like he needs to take care of you. Do I have an issue with that? Partially. And the reason I have a major issue with that is if you don't raise him to be a strong man, then you just raised a henpeck to sit here and try to take care of you, and he's never going to launch. He's never going to, because you never really showed him what that looks like, right? Or the other pet peeve that I have when I see a single mom is treating that son like it's your boyfriend. Oh, that ain't your damn boyfriend. That is not your man. You know what I'm saying? When you go deal with somebody like me or my boy Taylor or the other, you know what I'm saying, the rest of the men that's on this panel, and you say something out of line and we say, "Hold on, sister, we're not going to go for that." Now, all of a sudden, your feelings are hurt, your pride is hurt, and then you go home to little Billy, little Timmy, or Ray Ray, or whatever the hell his name is, and you're like, "Come on over here and watch these soap operas with mama, or watch this reality TV, this ghetto TV with mama." Instead of saying, "Hey, you know what? As your mom, I realized that I stepped out of line today, and I was talking to a young man that actually said something to me," and just talking to the young man and letting him know that you're human too, that you make mistakes too. Mama's not always perfect. Daddy's not always perfect. And then the other thing that I think my man Terrence ended up saying, can a woman raise an alpha male? Well, I have mixed feelings on that. I know a lot of times guys will say, heck no, because there are things that a man can teach a man that a woman cannot. But if you got a woman who is actually realistic with herself and she sets expectations on what this young man ought to be doing, cutting the yard, learning how to iron, cooking, all of this other stuff, in my opinion, if you really about your business, yes, you can raise an alpha male. The likelihood that a lot of these women are doing it by themselves, I think is low, because they did not set a certain expectation and stick with it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and get the pot stirred, Coffee. I know that's why you wanted me on this show. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the pot stirred. I know I'm about to hurt a few feelings. I don't really give a damn. This is something that we need to do for our community, right? And when I say our community, I'm talking about men and women. This ain't even about black and white, because I see these little white guys that are doing this stuff too. They have a failure to launch. We need to start setting expectations and living up to them, especially if you're going to complain. That's like when people vote for a candidate, then you turn, or don't vote for a candidate and turn around and people say you can't complain. Well, if you're not sitting here and actually raising your son to be the man that you want to be with, not just the dude that's going to sit here and listen to you and abide by your rules and everything else, because let's just be honest, when we was kids, who did we gravitate to? The parent or the relative, friend, or whatever that put us in our place. As adults, who do we gravitate to? The person who challenges us and makes us better. So if you're always taking the easy route, then that's the reason why you're getting the results that you're getting in your relationships, in your household, and at some point when your son is 35 years old and won't get the hell out the damn house. You understand what I'm saying? So if I stroked you the wrong way in anything that I said, good.
I want to chime in though real quick. Are we really? So I hear two conversations happening, and you can correct me if my perception is incorrect. I hear a conversation that talks about what it means to be chivalrous, to be kind to the other gender. And then I hear a conversation about what it just means to be an adult, right? Like what it simply means to know what it means to be a self-sufficient, clean human being, right? Men who are, or young men who are coming out of their parents' or their guardians' home, who don't have the prerequisite skills to take care of themselves the way that they should be, the way they should, who may have been coddled or not understand the relevance or importance of them learning those skills, especially as Jason Williams talked about, if it's kids raising children, right? And then we have the whole issue again, like I said the first time, of what does it mean to be just chivalrous and nice and kind, right? And caring. So when you walk into the classroom, I want to help my teacher by taking down the chairs, right? If I see you with something in your hand, I want to open the door for you or help you carry it. And I think if that conversation can be had as a non-gender role conversation, I think we might be able to get further along. Because the problem with it becomes a gender role conversation, it becomes an entitlement. Boys are supposed to hold the doors open, as opposed to, can somebody just grab the door because you see someone coming, and it will be nice to do that, right? And I think we're seeing a transition, and have been for quite some time in our society, where these rules about expectations and gender roles are being challenged, because you have a lot more people in the space that's talking about equity. And when we start talking about equity and access and advantages and being able to share the space equally, that means you start losing some of those privileges that might have been there before in the name of equality. But can we really be equal? So I say all of that to say to really direct attention to which one of these conversations are we having, or basically maybe we're having all three at the same time.
Well, I think Dr. Woods, that I can appreciate you making that statement. I clearly understand what you mean by are we just trying to be kind because we're supposed to be, or is it just that men are delegated to take care of these other responsibilities? And I can agree with you that I think a person that is well raised will rise to the occasion, whether they're male or female. I think in the society that we live in still today, it is our expectation that a male would do it, because we've been taught that. Society has dictated that for all of my years. I'm on the other side of 60. And that's all I've heard all the time. But does it stop me from opening the door if I see a gentleman approaching the door and he has a ton of packages, and maybe he has, a young child with him, or even if his wife is there, they're there together. But if they can't navigate the door, I'll get the door for them. It's no problem for me to do that. But what I don't want, this is just me in my personal space and in my personal life, I don't want people around me that know to do and then don't do. That becomes a huge issue for me. I have 5 brothers, 4 living. All of them are successful in their own right. All of them can cook, they can clean, they can mop, they can do laundry, they can do all of those things. Listen, they can do their own mani-pedi if they want to. If they wanted to do that, they can do that too. And they can give their wife one as well. But again, not everyone has been taught that. I have 2 boys, 2 young men. They're not boys, young men. My oldest son is married. He has 5 children. And he and his wife do an excellent job of communicating. They do an excellent job of running their household. And they are teaching their oldest son to be a young man. I was very impressed when I visited them last summer. And my grandson at that time was 11 years old. He was in there changing the shower heads. He came to the bathroom downstairs and took the entire faucet loose, fixed the toilet, ran outside, fixed the lawnmower, got the oil in it, cut the grass. He did all of those things. Yes, exactly. My granddaughters, who are younger, 2 of them who are younger than he is, what were they doing? Laying on the couch, watching TV, getting themselves a snack, taking care of themselves, but they weren't doing any other outside hard work. That's okay. They were doing what they've been taught to do. But at the same time, when it's time for something else to be done in the house and dad isn't around or their brother is not around, they would get up and at least make an attempt to do it themselves. So I think it's a conversation that we're having on all 3 fronts, and somehow we're trying to mesh them all together. But I just say for men in my environment, I want men to be men, and I want women to be ladies all the time.
And I'll say this because I know Taylor getting ready to hop in, but Taylor, I'm gonna ask you a dumb question, Taylor. Taylor, how comfortable would you be if we're in the car together and we going wherever we going, and I get out and I'm opening the door for you all the time? How comfortable would you be with that as a man?
You opening the door for me? I wouldn't want you to open the door.
I thought not.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to open it. But I have went on a date with a woman and she didn't want me to open the doors for her either.
And that's fine. But when we talk about the space of equality, I don't even think a lot of men feel comfortable with that equality concept. Not a man's man. I don't think a lot of men feel comfortable with that. I've never seen a man say, hey, I really would appreciate you opening that door. I never had a man say to me to get the door for him. That has never happened. I don't think a man's man would be comfortable with that. I don't think so. That's just my opinion. But go ahead, Taylor.
Oh boy, I'm gonna come from a different perspective, right? I think I'm probably the only non-traditional guy in the room. I think I'm safe to say that I'm more modern. And I think that if we were having this conversation with 27-year-olds, we would have a different spin on things. I think for me, that I didn't have to do really anything in the household. I chose to do. So when my grandmother, I had an outfit that bleed on the other clothes and I made a big ruckus, she told me then wash your own clothes. So I said, I'll wash my own clothes. Same way ironing, my mom put a crease in there in my jeans and I didn't like it. And I said, I'm going to iron my own clothes. And then going into the military. But I think that in today's society, we have things in place that although I didn't have to lift a finger in the household, me personally, like, I'm going to be honest with everybody that's listening. Like, I'm not changing oil on a car. I will never, ever, ever touch a oil with a car. because I'll take it to get a car wash. I will never lift a finger and cook because I have a chef that cooks for me. So these are the things that I don't have to do. And I'm 42 years old. I've turned out pretty fine, you know. Do I know how to make breakfast? 100%. But I choose not to. I don't like it. I don't even want to touch the kitchen. And so I think that, you know, for me, like I said, I've turned out pretty good. I know how to iron, I know how to sew, and a lot of things I was learned in school. You know, like Dr. Adrian was talking about, sewing was an elective in school when I went to New York, right? And so a lot of these things that maybe I wasn't taught at home, the school would kind of catch
Cushion,
some of the
they
things.
cushion it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, that you probably didn't learn at home. And then what maybe you didn't learn in the home, maybe like one of your relatives, your grandmother, your uncle, or somebody down the street would kind of, you know, show you different things, you know. But I think in today's society, the whole concept have changed. Our thinking is not the thinking that's out there. What we see on TV, okay, women want the bag. That's what they want. They want the bag. They don't want no Koffe, you know the deal. Koffe, you know, when we on another platform, they ain't waiting for a dude to open the car door for them. That takes too long. They want to be out and they want to go. A matter of fact, they're gonna go so fast, you probably be left in the car in the driver's seat still. If you're a guy. Times today, and it's sad to say this, and I'm not neglecting anything that was said, because I do believe that you should know how to do certain things, men and women. But because a society, Lady Victoria, that says, right, the whole sexual harassment raised, a lot of people, a lot of guys, I'm going to be honest with y'all, even in the workforce, they would prefer to have all men. They don't even want to hire women because of the issues that might arise in the workforce. Opening a door in the military, when I was in the military, and my gunner, I was a sergeant, and my gunner was a female on the turret. You think that I helped her take the gun down? No. She struggled with that gun on that turret to come down, because when we go to war, guess what? I don't have time as a sergeant to be helping her take the gun down from the turret when I'm trying to protect my team. So but at the same token, if I see a lady coming with things in her hand, naturally,
I was gonna say, because that example is different, because that's a requirement for the protection and safety of all y'all, period. I don't have time to pacify you. You chose to be here. That's different. You chose this journey. You chose to be in the military. You chose to be in the armed forces. So you chose this path. But you did say something. If I see a lady, that same woman, if she wasn't in a uniform, your response wouldn't be the same.
And if I saw a man struggling with things in his hand, just naturally, as who I am, will open that door. And I'm not going to say that my parents instill it inside of me. Maybe they did. I don't know. But naturally, I was always that guy growing up, and I was raised with all women in my family. So naturally, I was that guy that, you know, was always the protector, was always looking out for certain things, making sure my family was safe, my sister was safe. I was just always that guy for men and women. And I didn't have no male figure in my household.
But what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm listening to you, Taylor, and I agree with you. I'm listening to you, Miss Lady Victoria, and I agree with you as well. What I'm hearing is not necessarily a gender role, and that's why I don't always like it when we just kind of start going towards just gender roles. It's also a level of respect when you see people. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to even lie. Several years ago, I saw a mom pumping her own gas, and I saw her son in the car. And I was like, yo, what the hell? It's like, what's going on? She's like, before I thought she was about to try to defend him and jump my case, because I actually was like, yo, what's up? And she's like, He would normally be out here, but his leg is broke. And I was like, hey, I definitely get it. But I respect it because he still wanted to. But because he had another issue, and it was kind of cold outside, so I'm pretty sure he was in pain because I think it was a fresh injury. He allowed his mom to still kind of do that. But you could tell he was looking at me out the corner of his eye like, damn, man, I know this dude is judging me. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I look for, a level of respect there. Do I have an issue with my daughters opening up a door? No. I teach them to open up a door. I need you to be strong. Same thing with a young man. I need you to be strong. But if you see somebody that needs help with something, get off your butt. And the reason why I sound so critical is because even if it wasn't the food that we would supply a lot of these young men in this program, sometimes they would see other facilitators come in, you know, with portfolios and stuff for a class or, you know, action that we're going to teach them. And they would sit there and watch them struggle with the door. And I'm like, yo, what the hell? Get up. Go over there and help him out. Grab some of these books out of his hand. This dude is 50, 60, 70 years old, you know, depending on, you know, how old they are. And y'all will sit here, grab, you know, talking and I was about to say grab ass, but, you know, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Y'all sitting here messing with each other.
Look, Dr. Adrian, he still said it. He said, I did. And then he still said it.
Hey, man, it still slipped out, man. I'm me. Okay, I'm sorry. So if the occasional curse word offends you, my bad. But anyway, I mean, I need to get my point across. But, you know, they're sitting here lollygagging. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. They're sitting here lollygagging, and they're looking at the dude. They're looking at the man have a hard time, and they kind of like, yeah, man, you know, some. And I'm like, yo, you the closest people to him. Go over there and help him open the door. You see he's struggling with that door. So I agree with the two of y'all. To me, it's also a level of respect. It's not just gender, because I agree with you too, Doc. It's not just gender. It's also a level of respect there. So yes, I agree. There's about 3 different conversations going on here, but all 3 of them tie into each other. You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
So while it sounds like we're talking 3 different things, they all tie into each other. Number one, you got to have respect. You got to set expectations. And of course, the one thing that we all learn when it comes to taking care of business is action. You got to have action. I rest my mic.
All right. Listen, it is 9 o'clock already. That hour went by so fast, so quickly. And we want to respect the hour. We have different time zones present with us tonight. We're going to do round 2. We got to do round 2. The people obviously want us to do round 2. You see the comments. We haven't even scratched the surface on the comments or even had a chance to really respond to what the people had to say on tonight. So we got to hit it again, y'all. We got to do it again. We got to give the people what they want, Taylor. Got to do it. Got to do it. Fantastic conversation. Amazing, incredible conversation. Thank you all for your time. Always appreciate your time. Dr. Adrian, Taylor, Lady Victoria, Jason Williams had to hop off. It's 10 where he is. So thank you all. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate your time, your phenomenal wisdom. When we get ready to exit, everyone, they will be putting their information in the chat to be able to directly connect with them so that you can follow up anything that may have resonated with you as you were watching the segment and you want to connect with someone specifically, do that. Get in contact with them, connect with them directly. Phenomenal conversation. We will be back next Tuesday night, same bad time, same bad channel. We've got to continue this. We cannot leave this conversation undone. Phenomenal dialogue, phenomenal discussion. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in for this week's edition of The Hot Seat. We will see you all again on next week. Until then, God bless. We'll see you all soon. Good night, everyone.